Parashat Chukat, Part 2. Thank you for sticking with me. We continue with the story. Moses has hit the rock. As I say, from a human level, I understand why he did it. I understand why the frustration was there. He was being complained to. He was finding a lot of strife within the people, and he was frustrated. Completely understand. God responded by a very, very harsh punishment of not letting Moses into the Holy Land, which is something he's strived for, since leaving Egypt. And there's a lot of commentary on why this happened. I don't want to delve into it because my own personal feeling is that it was unfair, but there's a possibility that Moses wasn't allowed into the Holy Land for another reason. Perhaps it was so that there would be new leadership, there would be fresh blood, and a start for Israel, that they wouldn't have had the same leaders taken them from Egypt arrived in the Holy Land. Okay? The story continues on something because we have seen that the people were angry and being a little spoiled, for lack of a better word, and it actually continues to see how they were punished. And they were punished with a very interesting punishment, and this is snakes. Suddenly God releases, and it's important to use the word releases, because in the commentary it says, firstly, they're in the desert. They're in the Middle East. There are snakes in the Middle East. There are. That's just natural. And until now, they had not been plagued or afflicted by these snakes. So God actually had been holding these snakes aside, saving the people from the snakes. And he saw these people complaining and just said, you know what? I'm letting the snakes go. And he let the snakes go, and people were getting bitten, and people were getting were dying as a result of this. And God spoke unto Moses and said, make a copper snake, a fiery copper snake, and anybody who has been bitten looks upon this snake and sees that sees the snake and is cured. Okay? And we can look at it in modern terms and say, how do you deal with a fear? Dealing with a fear means looking straight at it, and maybe that was the point of the snake. So people are healed, and we move on, and Israel has to start moving on and trying to get to the Promised Land, as has been their mission for 40 years. Now, confusingly, why it has taken 40 years there, the Midrash says many, many things about this. Was it a case of the slave nation having to die off first before they could go into the Promised Land? Was it a case of the people being too ungrateful that they couldn't make it to the Promised Land until they realized certain truths and certain things about themselves? There are many different parshanuyot, different commentaries on that. Well worth reading about, by the way. So they're going on their way again, and Moses and Aaron ask whether they can pass through certain cities. They ask permission. Very interestingly, they say, can we pass through your village, through your town, through your kingdom? We promise not to take any food from you. We promise not to take any water. Remember, they now have the Stone of Miriam back reinstated, so they have a supply of water for themselves. What they're basically saying is, we're going to come through. We will take nothing of you. We just want safe passage. And a lot of people don't give them that safe passage. And what happens is there's a number of wars, there's a number of fights on the way. The kings are battling. Many people get killed on the way. Israel has to settle Am Israel, the people of Israel, have to settle somewhere for some time before they can continue on their journey. And then we lose Aaron, which is the second of the leaders. We lose in this parasha, and we are left with Moses. Now, I'm going to speak in the third third of this this talk about how this all connects for me with LGBTQ rights, as this is Pride Month, and I was asked by the synagogue to deliver this, the synagogue in Israel, in Kibbutz Gezer. I was asked to deliver this as part of their Pride Month services. So see you in part 3. Thank you for sticking with me.